Welcome to Politics Done Right on KPFT. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Give me a call at 713-526-5738. That is 713-526-KPFT. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right on KPFT. Thank you for spending your 9 o'clock hour with me today. Please do remember, folks, this is a call-in show, 713-526-5738. That number is 713-526-5738, 713-526-KPFT. Just give us a call if you want to send a tweet. Please go ahead and send it to hashtag Politics Done Right. Can you believe I forgot my own hashtag, Jacob?
Your hashtag or your handle?
That's my hashtag on Twitter. My handle is actually Egberto Willies.
Okay.
Actually, Egberto Willies. Actually, got to get the R in there. But yes, sir. You know, folks, how was your week, man?
My week was, I really can't complain.
You can't complain about it.
I know I can infuriate people by saying, meh, but, you know.
Well, actually, when I came in here, that's the kind of look you gave me. Meh, it was okay. That's why I said, what's going on, buddy? Positive affirmations. You know, that's all I believe in. No matter how down you are, we move forward. But anyhow, getting busy. Do you know, today we will discuss the renewed President Obama. Did the 2014 midterm election reinvigorate him? It sure seems that way. So I want to discuss that with you guys. Have you been watching our presidente? Have you been seeing how he has been performing? What do you think? Before I get into my blog of the week, I want to see if Jacob saw a new performing president. What do you think, Jacob?
I didn't see that one that you're referencing specifically yet.
Right.
But
let it out.
It's difficult for me to express just how cynical and jaded I can be at times.
I know.
I'm not impressed by anybody anymore.
Well, you know what? Folks, Jacob is the new engineer here, and he's a great guy, and he's also like Roxy. He's young, and these are the folks that we have to make sure and really get back into the body politic and get their oomph back for politics.
Oh, you know, cynicism for me, while it's useful to prevent yourself from being tricked by people or lied to people. It's great as an armor. I say that it's a problem when it becomes a paralytic, when it becomes a reason for you to not do something.
Well, in knowing you the short time that I've known you, I don't think it's reached a stage of paralyzing you. I think you still vote. I still think you do your civic duty.
No, it's not. I'm not at the paralysis stage. It's just that.
But I need you to be less cynical, because the only way we get more people your age involved in the body politics is that if young people like you are less cynical.
Oh, well, I don't let it stop me from doing anything. It's just, I guess the game now is spot the lie.
Right.
Who's lying to me and why?
Well, you know what? Guess what, Jacob? That's what we do here. That's why there's KPFT, folks. That's why we're at KPFT Houston 90.1, Galveston 89.5, Goodrich, Livingston 90.3, Huntsville 91.9. And before we go to the blog of the week, I want to remind folks of some great shows that we have here at KPFT. We have Think Wing Radio. And when does Think Ring Radio come on with good old Mike Honig? That's on Wednesdays at 10 p.m. I do some engineering for Mike, but Mike is a great show, great political show as well. that's open to everybody. So I want you guys to remember that show as well. And of course, you know, our buddy at on Fridays. But anyway, I think it is about that time. I think it's about that time.
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, folks. This is the post that I had up on Sunday. Got a whole lot of hits on Daily Kos on the front page. I think they put it out at 2 o'clock or 1:30, somewhere around that time. And I got called out a bit. I got called out by folks like Jacob as well, but here it goes. The title was President Obama heard the electorate. Go left. When President Obama walked up to the podium to talk about the thumping the Democrats got in the 2014 midterm election, he was not slouching. He seemed rather resolute. It is clear that while the president normally accepts blame, he must know that acquiescing to the will of Democrats to mostly stay out of campaigning with them would likely seal their fates. They decided not to run on Democratic accomplishments that are now paying dividends. President Obama's seeming disaffection to the election results was so obvious that Fox News' Ed Henry's question became a bit contentious. This is Ed. I haven't heard you say a specific thing during this news conference that you would do differently, Ed Henry said. You've been asked it a few different ways. I understand you're going to reach out. You've talked about that before. It's almost like you are doubling down on the same policies and approach you've had for 6 years. So my question is, why not pull a page from the Clinton playbook and admit you have to make a much more dramatic shift in course these last 2 years? You know, that was Ed Henry. In other words, Ed Henry and his ilk are asking the president to capitulate to the Republicans. He brought up President Clinton as if Clinton was a model to follow. One should remember that Clinton's capitulation, or maybe chamialic triangulation, effected the repeal of Glass-Steagall. That was partially responsible for the 2008 financial collapse. President Obama's answer to Ed Henry was simple. He said he answered the question before. He said he's willing to work with Republicans. I am open to working with them, President Obama said, on issues where they think there is going to be cooperation. The president reminded the reporters that he does not have to worry about elections anymore. My number one goal, cause I am not running again, I'm not on the ballot, President Obama said. I don't have any further political aspirations. My number one goal is just to deliver as much as I can for the American people in these last 2 years. And whether I see an opportunity no matter how large or how small, to make it a little easier for a kid to go to college, make it a little easier, like someone is finding a good paying job, make it a little easier, more likely that somebody has higher quality health care, even if I am not getting a whole loaf. I am interested in getting whatever legislation we can get passed that adds up to improved prospects and an improved future for the American people. It was as if the president felt a weight lifted off his shoulders. He no longer has to cater his actions to a timid Democratic Party that Howard Dean described as afraid and not standing for something. He no longer has to accept compromises to placate blue dogs. They're mostly gone, and his party now controls neither legislative bodies. Well, the president allowed his inner bold to come out this week. He negotiated a climate deal with China. He came out strongly in favor of net neutrality for the first time. It is reported that he will be going bold with an immigration executive order. The president's spokespeople gave the impression that he would veto any fast-tracking legislation on the Keystone XL pipeline. In fact, as he traveled Asia, he came out with a rather strong statement on Keystone XL. He told the truth most progressives know, and the media failed to report. The Keystone XL pipeline, and for folks listening here in Houston, Louisiana, or anywhere else, remember this. The Keystone XL pipeline will create few U.S. jobs and will do little to bring Canadian oil to the U.S. Its goal is to use U.S. land and Gulf of Mexico as a conduit for dirty oil to the export markets, period. This does not help most Americans, but it enriches a select few at all our expense. In the president's prepared speech before the news conference, he made an interesting statement to the voters. To everyone who voted, I want you to know that I hear you, President Obama said. To two-thirds of the group, or two-thirds of the voters who chose not to participate in the process yesterday, I hear you too. Very important when two-thirds of your folks didn't vote. The president was making it clear that he is listening to all. After all, voter ID and misinformation by Republicans and a campaign bordering on electoral malpractice by Democrats corrupted the body politic. As a two-term president who won the popular vote and electoral votes by a landslide, he continues to have his mandate for the policies he campaigned on. It is important to note that while Democrats lost, their values won. Minimum wage increases were won in the red states like Arkansas and Alaska. Marijuana legalization passed in many states as well. Personhood bills went down to defeat. Another interesting event occurred a few days ago. Harry Reid single-handedly elevated Elizabeth Warren into the leadership position in the Senate. Strategic Policy Advisor to Democratic Policy and Communications Committee. In other words, she will be an envoy to liberal groups. Is Harry Reid and President Obama moving in sync? I don't know. The continued experiment with Republican light centrism that is nothing but the right of years past has been a failure that has corroded the Democratic Party from within. It is much worse than it seems nationally. The party in the states have been decimated. The rebuilding process will not be the Clinton-esque triangulation that has moved the country to the right as the middle class got decimated. It will be the type of populism that drives not only an excitement, but a hope and change that needs to be realized. President Obama heard the electorate and what the electorate said, even as they voted for the other side. Go left. Go left. Jacobo, talk to me.
What's up? Hey, I guess my only take on that really is I will believe it when I see it actually happen.
I agree with you.
I've had enough promises.
I don't want promises.
Yeah. So, particularly on the net neutrality thing,
yes,
him coming out strongly in favor of it, which I agree. That's kind of interesting coming from the president who appointed to chair the FCC
an industrialist, yes,
an industry insider. So
right.
I do question. I think a lot of people have a reason to question whether or not any of that's going to be followed.
Well, he has been playing ball like he has to play ball. I mean, this is politics, and politics isn't it's not a zero-sum game, and you make all kinds of deals, but then after a while, you hope one gets liberated and one gets moving. But as I tell people all the time, politicians are empty vessels to be filled. And if those on the left do the job that they're supposed to do, meaning keeping the pressure on, then they'll have no other choice but to do what has to be done. But we can't do what we on the left usually do quite often, and that is get somebody we want elected and then sit home. get someone elected and don't go in the streets. As the Tea Party went in the streets, the Tea Party went into your face. Guess who needs to do some of that?
Well,
the left.
We certainly do.
Let me hear from Terry. Terry, I haven't heard from you in a while, my brother. Talk to me.
Yeah, I know. I've been AOL or AWOL, and I'm sorry, but I'm back.
Well, I'm happy to have you back, buddy. Talk to me. What you think? First of all, we haven't even spoken since the election.
I know.
Talk to me.
Good. Well, here's my take. Number one, yes, I agree with your position. Democrats and progressives and liberals need to do a better job energizing its voting base. That's not just midterm elections; that's every election.
Right.
However, if you analyze this particular election, and particularly some key races, you have to take a look at some of the candidates and some of the decisions that they made that I thought were, at best,
bad,
terrible, and at worst, just pathetic. You had Martha Coakley, okay, who blew the Senate race against Scott Brown.
Right.
Turns right around, blows the governor race, is going to announces that she's not going to participate in a debate, thereby granting her Republican counterpart an hour of unfettered
airtime
without any response. Then you have Kay Hagan, I believe, North Carolina.
Yes.
Does the same thing. So my question is, who are the people who are selecting these candidates and need to do a better job? Because frankly and candidly, in this election cycle, it looked as though the Democrats pulled a play out of the Republican playbook. Get some loons and some people who are not very serious about running an election to run these elections and go with them.
I mean, you're so right. I was completely flabbergasted, first of all. I mean, it is true that the president numbers were down, but you can't look at how things are now. You have to ask how they got there in the first place. And before I finish that, I need to give a station ID. Folks, this is KPFT FM 90.1. It's in Houston, 90.1 HD, Galveston, 89.5, Goodrich, Livingston, 90.3, Huntsville, 91.9. This is a call-in show. Please give us a call at 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738. We have open lines. Yes, Terry, I think one of the things that you have to do is you can't ask what happened now. You have to ask, how did we get there? And I tell you something, Democrats must be ashamed of themselves, because there are presidents that get low ratings because they've done bad things. There are presidents that the party faithful run away from because they are legitimately a liability at the time they run from that president. Democrats, however, what they did is they're running from this president contributed to his poll decline. What do I mean by that? Again, they allowed themselves to be bought. They allowed Republicans to call or carry the narrative of everything that was occurring in society.
How many times have we spoken about that very thing?
It's ridiculous. But what hurts is that they ran away from success. And you have to wonder if they thought that the average American citizen was so dumb that they could not have discern the truth if the truth was given to them with the numbers. It doesn't matter that we could have said Obamacare is terrible.
Well, wait.
Go ahead.
Did you watch any of the Sunday talk shows or any of the political shows the 2 weeks preceding the vote?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Isn't it interesting? Yeah, because that's fascinating to me, how everyone eschews the issue of race.
Right.
Unless and until it comes close to election time, then it's all about where the black vote's going to break.
Right. It's ridiculous.
Well, but it's never about race.
Right.
Until it's about the majority needing race to count, and then it's all about race.
Yes.
Every analysis, every exit polling was white vote, black vote, Hispanic vote. But
right.
It's never about race when the people who are negatively impacted by race are complaining about race. It's only about race when the majority says, well, we have to analyze these things along a racial breakdown now. And then, of course, the Democrats are always falling back on the same old tired thing, running to the black vote to come to the rescue. The Republicans took a page out of it when they got the guy in Mississippi, Cochran, to beat down the Tea Party moron.
Right.
And so, then nobody has anything to say about that. But you let people want increased scrutiny of some of the policing. Well, we can't do that. People look at some of the policies of loan structuring for HBCUs. No, we can't do that. But we can sure run to your community when it's time to vote, because we're about to get our ass handed to us, and now we need you.
Well, it's interesting that you actually said that, right? Because what I tried to tell quite a few people is that first of all, it is true that I think if you want to specifically talk about the black community and abuse of the black community by the Democratic Party, I think that is absolutely, or I should say partially true, right? I mean, I think several of the guys on TV said that when they weren't sure it was going to happen. But Jacob, before I say what I want to say, Jacob seems like you want to say something.
Yeah, when it comes to the abuse of certain communities of color by the Democratic Party, and it has happened, and I'm not necessarily, of course, with the old Dixiecrats and
right.
Solid South. I'm not talking about that far back, but actually there's a guy, Ian Haney Lopez, who did a bit on the dog whistle politics of race. He went on Bill Moyer's, maybe several months back, to talk about how some of that was done. That when it's useful, as Bill Clinton did, when it's useful, they'll go ahead and abuse black people and Hispanics.
Look at what he did when they signed welfare, Jacob. I mean,
welfare reform.
When welfare reform, if you remember that picture, I remember getting extremely upset at the picture of Clinton signing welfare reform bill.
Well, also the dialing up of the drug war.
Yeah, but you think about it. He did have two black women on. I think it was on both sides or one side. I don't remember. But what it did is it categorized in people's minds what welfare looked like, and that was a Democrat doing that.
Yeah.
While we know there's an Appalachia.
Right, we talked about this.
We talked about that, didn't we?
Plenty of poor white folks who are
more so, but it's never ever played. But it's not even, that isn't even the real issue that I care to talk about, because I can actually make a winning case completely absent race if allowed to. And you think about it, if you think about it, Terry, this election, the reality is when you crunch the numbers or whatever, race and all that sort of stuff was completely and entirely inconsequential.
I disagree with that.
Okay,
and I'm always
make your point. Make your point.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Why is it one party always runs on race and the other party always runs away from it? Why is it that Republican candidates, when they become serious on the trail, on the election trail, their first or second stop is to Bob Jones University?
Right.
Now you tell me how that can be anything but about race.
That is absolutely so, but that's sort of dog whistling, right? They do it.
Yeah, you can call it what you choose, but the fact of the matter is, one party always runs on race, and the other party always runs away from it.
Well, I mean,
there has to be equanimity, because if you cede one issue to the other side completely, then it's a losing strategy.
Well, I mean, this is where I'm going to differ with you, okay? Because I don't know if you read the post that I did. There's a teacher here in Houston who teaches third grade, and she went on a show and she was bashing Muslims and bashing liberals.
I saw that interview. Yeah.
Did you see the piece that I wrote at all or not?
I didn't see your piece.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I read the piece that you wrote.
Okay. The reason I brought that up is that if you look at what she did, right? The way she used some of the items that she used, she kind of insulated herself from a certain type of racism. I mean, because what did she say? These guys were praising the guy in North Carolina, the black guy in North Carolina who won, Mia Love in Utah who won, and a few others. And I tell you, there's another piece that I wrote, a blog piece that I wrote last week, which actually said something quite interesting. And I said, if you take a look at the winners in the Republican Party, the facade of the winners in the Republican Party looked like everything the Democrats preach. Take a look at the winners. You had the youth, you had the Hispanics, you had the blacks, you had young whites, you had it looked like America. That is what, so what I'm trying to say is these guys know how to play the game, and we have the Democrats, I'll be honest with you, if you take a look at it, looked pretty darn stale. Jacob, you want to say something?
Oh, no, when you brought up the elementary teacher, Angela Box, that's certainly been a situation that has piqued my interest, but I don't want to derail from the points you're making right now.
Yeah, did you want to add to that, Terry?
Well, I just agree, but I'm going to go one step beyond.
Sure, go ahead.
You have to take a look at who these people were.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first of all, I think you were referring to Tim Scott in South Carolina.
Tim Scott in South Carolina, Mia Love.
You said North Carolina, though.
Oh,
but anyway.
I messed up, yeah.
Okay, well, so Tim Scott, it didn't matter who or what he was. In that deeply red state, he was going to win anyway. So his race was inconsequential. Mia Love, yes, she's black and she's Haitian, but she's also a Mormon.
Mm-hmm.
So the Mormon's always going to win in Utah. So I think those were outliers. I don't think those were representative of the group at all.
Here's what I mean with this, though, Terry. You know that you are red. You are knowledgeable. When we're talking about the average American voter, that's not what they know and that's not what they see.
Oh, absolutely, I agree with that.
Okay, so in other words, Terry knows all the back end store of these elections. But the average when Republicans put that picture on the screen, and I have a great picture that they have on the screen, they look young, they look diverse, they look fresh. That's what I'm saying. It's and in one of the posts I put, I have something that should be coming out in Common Dreams, I believe, sometime soon, where I looked and I said, it's the theater. And darn if these guys aren't very good at theater. Folks, I don't have a lot of calls today. 713. Are you going to leave Terry all by himself? 713-526-5738. That number again is 713-526-KPFT. Give me a call. Tell me what you think about what's going on here. Did the president really say we're moving left? Are we really moving left? Is it a facade? What is it? 713-526-5738. You're smiling, Jacob.
Well, when I said, when you said, "Are we really moving left?" I was thinking, my money is on no. Mm-hmm. My money is on yes. It is a facade. But you know what? I hope to be pleasantly surprised, and I will be honest enough to give credit where credit's due.
Well, let me tell you what I want to do. I see an opening, and this is what I try to tell people. Nothing is baked. Nothing is cooked. Politics, nothing is cooked, baked, or ready to go. We make it happen. And whoever has the oomph to go out there and put their I don't want to say bodies on the line, but I really mean to some extent bodies on the line and put everything on the line and be the one who wants it more is going to get it. You know.
Well, wait a minute, bro. It's not just about that because there's structural inequities.
Yes, there are.
When the right wing has its 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, multimedia platform propaganda machine cranked up, and everything is negative and not fact-based, it's hard to compete with that.
Yes, it is. And let me tell you something else that we spoke about, and I think this part is important. I hope folks out there have heard of Mayday. Have you heard of Mayday at all, Terry?
Yes.
All right. That is where Lessig, you know who Lessig is, Jacob?
Lawrence Lessig?
Lawrence Lessig. Lawrence Lessig formed a super PAC called Mayday. The purpose of the Mayday super PAC was to do exactly what the other super PACs are doing, but the only difference is this super PAC, he had great plans. This super PAC was going to do the following. This super PAC was going to make sure that the candidates it chose to support would be candidates that support electoral reform. Okay? And they had to make that pledge. It doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, or whatever. If you support electoral reform, they will come and support the candidate. He got media coverage on every single major network in somehow, some form, somehow. This guy was able to raise over $10 million in a very short amount of time. Now, his website was bold in stating that they will elect candidates in 2014. They'll make an assessment of how many more candidates they need to elect in 2016 so that in 2017 that Congress would pass the bill to effect electoral reform, and the president in 2017 signed the bill. That's a pitch the Super PAC gave to everybody. Now, we all know Lawrence Lessig. I'm a member or been on the board of directors of Coffee Party, as well as Move to Amend. We're grassroots organizations that do these kinds of things, trying to actually go into the community, engage people, to actually be, to listen to not what they hear on TV, but actually to form a movement that's going to make change. This professor believed that he could come in, form a super PAC, and follow exactly what those that steal elections do, and that is throw a bunch of money at something and think he was going to get these people elected. Ultimately, every single one of his candidates in a competitive race lost. Every single one of them, which proves another thing, that it's not all about money. So what Terry is saying, though, is quite important. Yes, it is true that they have been building a misinformation campaign for years. And that is one of the reasons it's going to take a movement to get beyond that misinformation campaign. And that is one thing that I don't think Lawrence Lessig, as a professor, ivory tower professor, ever understood. That $10 million would have been much better served had it gone to movetoamend.org, had it gone to coffeepartyusa.com, and used those avenues to engage people at the grassroots level. And we could have actually turned a couple of elections in, a few elections could have been turned if those monies, he supported, 6 candidates? I think the 6 candidates that lost.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. He supported 6 losing candidates. We could have probably, with a grassroots movement and $10 million, won six people that didn't win. We could have got with it at the grassroots level. So what do you think about that, Terry?
I agree with you, but I will state something else, and
yes.
That is that, and I'm going to say we progressive, we Democrats, we liberals, need to start taking a much longer look.
Right.
Look back at the last 20 years, what the lunatic fringe of politics, as I euphemistically call them, has done, is that they played the long game, starting with state legislatures, which gave them the ability to control redistricting.
Alec, yes.
Which gave them the opportunity to elect secretaries of states to manage the elections, which led to the outcomes that they wanted to see. And that's how they built the majority that they've gotten. And they'll do the exact same thing they did the last time they had the majority, which is there'll be so much corruption that the pendulum will swing back. But this time, instead of the pendulum swinging back being basically symbolic, if we took the time today to start to lay the foundation that we needed to lay to solidify those gains, we could, now I won't say have a permanent majority, but we could swing the pendulum back and start to see some common sense legislation that is at least fact-based, which would be a radical departure from where we are today.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, folks. This is KPFT FM 90.1 in Houston, 89.5 in Galveston, 90.3 Goodrich Livingston, 91.9 Huntsville. This is Politics Done Right. Look, Terry, and by the way, it's a call-in show, 713-526-5738. They're open lines, 713-526-5738. Where are you guys, my friend? It's not the holiday yet. It's not Thanksgiving yet. Give me a call, 713-526-5738. Talk to me about the election. What do you think about it? Talk to me about this new move that we have moving. Are we really moving to the left? Or are we going to By the way, I do have something that I want to mention to Texans in general before I get back to you, Terry. And this is a very important point, folks. Governor Perry has put a panel together to find the best way to take care of the uninsured in Texas. And that panel came back with a conclusion that said Texas should, in fact, accept the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, the Medicaid expansion to Obamacare. That is what they suggested the governor do. Okay? Now, it is incumbent upon Texans now to ask their leaders to abide by what's best for their fellow Texas citizens. Do remember that in voting for someone who advocated not taking the Medicaid expansion to Obamacare, we have officially, or for all practical purposes, sentenced several of our fellow Texans to death. Do remember that. We, and I'm not saying we've done it willfully, we probably did it mostly ignorantly, but let's do remember that our vote means something, and we choose whether we support our fellow citizens, our less fortunate citizens, with our vote. And what we've done in this state is ensure that it's going to be a difficult road to accept the Affordable Care Act, the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, and in doing so, many Texans will die. FJ.
Will I get online?
Yes, sir, you're on.
Yeah, I'm on right now.
Yes, sir.
But he's still talking.
Oh, no, turn your radio down. You're on delay.
Okay. Oh, he will call my name?
Yes, I just called your name, FJ.
I don't hear nobody.
Okay, turn your radio down.
I did. I have.
Okay,
nobody's speaking to me.
Well, you're speaking to me.
You're live. I can hear you.
You're on the radio.
Oh, I'm on the radio now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, FJ. Okay, why is it no one, as far as the midterm election is concerned, why no one is, in the midterm election, there is an estimate of over 600,000 individuals who did not vote because of the new ID law. And I believe the outcome of the Republican Party, I am here in Houston, and I believe because of the ID law, which some people was unable to get an ID, and I believe that was an impact, too, on the outcome of the Republican Party.
Can I ask you a few questions, sir?
Yes.
Let me ask you, first of all, did you vote?
Oh, yes, I did.
Okay.
Oh, yes, by all means. I've been voting over 40 years. In fact, I tried to get many people in my community to vote. Yes, by all means.
Okay. Did you want to say something? Ask him something, Jacob?
Oh no, I wanted to make the remark that about
the 600,000. Okay, that's an estimate.
Right.
It's probably maybe a little less, maybe a little more, but everybody.
FJ, you're right.
About the Republican Party, why no one is talking about did the new ID law had an impact for them to win?
Okay, FJ, let me answer it this way, and I want to be very truthful to you or with you. Okay, and let me answer for you. And I don't know if you may need to turn your radio down, but here's a very important thing. You are correct that. Okay, could you let me answer him and just take his thing offline? Yeah. Okay. Listen to me. Here's the deal, FJ. It is correct that voter ID probably had some impact on this election. There's no doubt about that. However, Wendy Davis didn't lose because of the voter ID. And the president said it best when he says, these laws are terrible, and the only ways we get these laws repealed is if we vote. For those of us that have ID, have access to IDs, et cetera, if we vote, Abbott would not have won, and et cetera. You go ahead, Ajay.
I'm going to finish what I said. While I think it may have been a factor in the impediment of some people of voting,
yes, it was.
Turnout was certainly a bigger issue, and I think one of the I believe one of the effects of especially the lopsided results.
Right.
I think for a while you're going to see that kind of go away for a little bit, at least until the next election cycle, or especially if it's closer than, say, Wendy Davis losing by 20 freaking points. I'm pretty sure that the voter ID issue didn't have that big of an effect.
Right. In a close election, it has a big effect.
Sure.
But the thing about it, FJ, is that we must ensure that folks get their voter IDs and then vote. But we can't just say that the voter ID was the sole responsibility of us losing the election. That's not the case. I mean, I'm happy that you voted.
I did not say that. I did not say that.
I know you did, sir.
I said I was a factor.
Yes, sir. You're correct.
One of the things that impacted the outcome. I'm not only speaking here in Houston,
right,
but I'm speaking, nationally. What I am trying to say, there's a possibility that, hey, we know in the past that a person could have won an election, sometime with just 18 votes or 50 votes.
You're right.
I'm just saying, look, I've been in this
voting for a long time.
Political thing for a long time.
Right.
Okay? My mom was 65 years old before she
could vote.
Actually could vote. And that was in 1965 during the Voting Rights Act, when it was signed. And I said, Mom, you can go downtown, you can vote. You don't have to worry about the poll tax. You don't have to worry about, do you know about the Constitution, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
What I'm trying to say, it did impact some kind of way.
FJ?
Now, when it comes to the Democrat Party, they did not pull their weight.
Right.
They did not explain to the American people that the Affordable Care Act helped a lot of people. They did not explain. I mean, people are really getting upset right now about this, immigration.
Right.
Okay? Now, the Republican Party know good and well that bill is out there. They didn't do anything. Now, Obama is talking about using executive order. You see? All right. You see, most Americans don't even know 101 as far as their history is concerned.
Sir?
Okay? But I do. You can ask them right now, show me on the map where's, California.
Yeah.
Show me on the map where's,
FJ, FJ, look, I got to go.
They get information from their neighbors.
FJ.
Most time that information be misleading.
Sir?
But people like me who do their research.
Yes.
I research on everything.
Sir, FJ, let me tell you, first of all, I appreciate your call. You're correct. I'm glad that you voted. I hope you continue to be a part of the movement to ensure that our fellow citizens go out there and do their civic duty and vote. Thank you very much for calling, my friend. You're a good man, okay?
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Matthew. Matthew, you're on.
Okay, hello. Yes, Jay.
Could you turn your radio down, please, Matthew? I think it's...
I turned it off.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that happened in this election, but I heard some statistics on KPFT earlier in the week, and I just want you to verify, is it a fact that more women voted for the dude that won than for Wendy Davis?
Yes, that's correct. Let me tell you, the reality is Wendy Davis was a very, very good candidate that had a very bad campaign. And I think you have to agree with me on that one, my friend.
Well, the Washington Post published a pretty damning article that essentially outlined that. I mean, if you judging by their reporting, nobody knew what they were doing in that campaign. It was like the amount, the magnitude and number of blunders was mind-numbing.
It is amazing. I can give you a very small thing that happened.
It's amazing she only lost by 20 points.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. You want to say something, Matthew? Go ahead.
No, that's all. You go ahead. I'm just listening.
Yeah, so I mean, there's an interesting thing. We had some things. We have a very active group in Kingwood, and we work in sync with the colleges, Lone Star, and other places, and we were trying to get her over there, to get a big crowd over there, talk to the kids, and because she came up through the junior college system, and we thought that it would have been good to have her there speak to these folks that encourage them to vote. You couldn't even get past the campaign. So I mean, it was and it was ironic the way that particular election ran. So I don't think she had to lose. First of all, I don't think she had to lose that badly. And sir, what you read is in fact correct. That she even lost the woman's vote. And how can that?
Yeah,
be?
that's the most stunning
totally
part.
amazing. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
You have a wonderful day, Matthew.
Bye.
Thank you for calling, Wayne.
Hey, Egberto.
How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing all right.
Talk to me.
First of all, Wendy Davis lost the women's vote because women didn't get out and vote. They didn't understand the issues that they were supposed to be voting for. And that has to go back to women and women alone. I would always say if you don't stand up for your own, you ain't going to stand up for nobody. Every woman has the same thing that Wendy Davis has, a family.
Right.
Okay? So that's that. But
before you make your point, I want to say one thing, Wayne, because I went to Greg Abbott came out to Conroe, and he had this big function there, and I went there to, you know what I do. I go out there and I video the candidates, and I, blog it, all that good stuff. So anyhow, I'm out there and I'm talking to the people, and let me first be frank, okay? I enjoy being around people, including those, the Greg Abbott Republican folk that were out there. They were very, very nice people. They just are misled. But they were very nice people. And, I sat there and I, walked around the room, and there are probably a couple hundred people in there, and I engaged with them. And then I saw a few women talking, and I heard one of them said, it's funny. Can you believe she's running? There's not a chance she's going to win. And guess what? And the way they were talking, So it just got to me, and I walked up to them and I said, wouldn't you kind of like to see that, men have been running this state into the ground for a long time. Wouldn't you like to see a woman try at it, given that a woman knows about families and, she's usually the nurturer, etc.? Oh, they went into a tirade, a right-wing tirade. They really had no interest in listening to how a Wendy Davis governorship would impact their daughters. So, it's a lot more than that, Wayne. I think we have to do what we're trying to do here, and that is try to talk to people in such a manner that, they're willing to listen. When I mention that in voting for these guys, what you voted for is not getting the Medicaid expansion, and in doing so, you've pretty much sentenced many of your fellow citizens to death. But anyway, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead, Wayne.
And you're good at that, Egberto. But one thing I want to say, and then I'm going to go to the left wing. I think the president should go as far left as he can.
I agree.
With this here right now, and I've already made my call to the State Department, to the Federal Department up there, to put in my vote for a no on the Keystone XL pipeline.
Amen.
Because it's not going to do nothing but dirty up the water here in Texas. And if people really don't realize anything, they better realize this. You see that this country is becoming a shortage of water. It's all around the world.
Yes.
You can sit up there and say or believe that it's not going to happen to you. But when they have you paying a water bill like you're paying a car note, you will find out that when you can't feed your families, because you got to pay a water bill to keep them clean, you're going to realize that something is very wrong here in America.
You know, Wayne, there was a great piece that was done on 60 Minutes yesterday, and I think everybody should have watched it because, you know, we've lost a lot of our surface fresh water. The rain patterns have been changing. The droughts that would last 2 or 3 years are now lasting 5 years. And what we're doing is we're going into aquifers, deep aquifers, and drilling for water. And what's starting to happen is a whole lot of subsistence. But there's even more. There is a satellite that goes up and it starts to measure. It measures how much fresh water is actually left, you know, or how much is being extracted from these different areas by some. There's some technical definitions that I don't need to go in here. How they figure out from a satellite how much groundwater has been taken, and you would not imagine how bad it is in several parts of this country, and nobody says anything.
Nobody.
You know, we go on as if it is all okay.
And Egberto, just to try to wake up the people here in Texas. That referendum that the people up there in Texas put up on
fracking. On fracking.
Fracking.
Yes.
It wasn't just about the smell of oil in Texas, and especially in Denton and Dallas and in those surrounding counties there. It's about those people water bills going up. If you get out there and ask those people and take a survey and find out how much their water bills are going up, and the water that they're using now, it's not clean. It's going to be contaminated. You know?
Right.
And these big oil companies want to keep taking your money.
Right.
Your tax-paying dollars that Rick Perry wants to sit aside and pay for them to have premiums or however you want to say it.
But, you know, even the fracking has another problem that a lot of people are that they're realizing, those people who are in those areas, and that is there's a good possibility that a lot of the fracking and the high-pressure wells to get rid of the wastewater from fracking is actually creating a whole lot of earthquakes throughout the fracking region. So, I mean, there's a whole lot that we don't know. There's a whole lot that we better start knowing, because when these companies are done taking their gas, if something happens that it is these companies that have caused severe earthquakes, or these companies that have caused the depletion of the water or the contamination of the groundwater, I guarantee you one thing, because corporations are people and they can file for bankruptcy, when they're done making their profits, that's exactly what they'll do. File for bankruptcy, run off with their money, and leave all the people on the land holding the bag. I got another call. Is there anything else you have to say, Wayne?
Yeah, just one thing. I just wanted to say that I was reading in the paper today about just that exact thing you said about companies and filing for bankruptcy. And there's one company, I can't remember the town, but it's here in Texas. And they got some counties up there somewhere. I think it's up there towards the valley.
Right.
And they was this supposed to be this private company that was supplying these people with water.
Right.
No. I'll take that back. It's the Aldine School District right here.
Oh, no, that happened here in North Harris County. You're correct, and they can't get any water. I got to go to the other call, Wayne. But look, it was a pleasure talking to you as usual, my friend. You take care, okay?
All right, buddy.
Thank you, Wayne. Bob, talk to me.
Hello.
Talk to me, Bob.
You know, Egberto, I really like what you bring to KPFT. And, I mean, it's really good analysis, and you're quick, and, you know, a lot of great issues, a lot of good perspective. It's very obvious that you're a fan of the Democrats. And I've noticed that there's a lot of, you know, Democratic Party folks popping up on KPFT, and I do appreciate a lot all the criticism of the Republicans, and they deserve all that. But, you know, really, the Democrats are no alternative to that. I mean, they're at the party level, at the upper echelons.
Sure.
I mean, they're just another big business party. And the difference between the Republicans and the Democrats, and the reason why the Republicans were successful in this last round, is because they out-populist the Democrats. Okay, so they're right-wing populism is dangerous.
Bob,
okay? It's like
you're
fascism.
a smart dude.
They got the Tea Party working for them. I'm just going to make my statement, and I'll be done. But the Democratic Party, they didn't do the populist thing, and it fumbles around with it, and because you're dealing with real populism when you're dealing with the left. Mm-hmm. And the Democratic Party is ultimately afraid of that because they would lose. Because if there was a populist uprising, it would sweep out, a progressive populist uprising. The Democrats wouldn't be at the table anymore. They don't represent, that's not for them, okay? Socialism, and I don't believe in any political parties. I'm an anarchist, but socialism is more of a populist.
Okay, thing. Bob, let me stop you.
Just capitalist pigs.
Bob, let me stop you. Let me stop you, okay? Let me stop you. First of all, we are in a two-party system. One part, and what you're saying is so true. I'm not going to argue with you because, when you looked at me and tell me a lot of Democrats are just as corporatist as Republicans are corporatist, why will I argue with the truth?
And it's really a class thing. No, there's one class that has all the political power.
Yes.
That class has two political parties. Middle class people don't have a political party. Working class people don't have a political party.
Let me give me a chance to answer you real quickly. Then I have to jump to another call before we close the show out. But first of all, there is a difference. However, on what I have been advocating is that I do want the folks on the left to do what's their duty, and that is to co-opt a party to get busy and get functional. That's what it's going to take. You are correct, sir, but you have to do your job within the system that we have to get something done. We'll talk. You call back. Let us talk about anarchy later on. But let me talk to. So thank you for calling, Bob. But call back and we'll talk.
Have a good one,
Bobby. Quickly, Bobby.
Oh yeah. Well, anybody who thinks there's not a difference is only fooled because of gerrymandering. And if Democrats didn't have to go farther and farther to the right to get any votes, just because they're gerrymandered out of their districts. In other words, if you fairly districted the United States, Republicans couldn't win a dogfight.
No, they couldn't because most are Democrats. I think we have to give what was his name, Bob, right? We have to listen to what Bob had to say. However, because what Bob had to say does have merits about the corporatocracy. But guys like you and me, Bobby, we have to do our work.
Right.
And we have to do our work to get involved in the party and pull the party left. But it was we're at a hard stop now, Bobby. Thank you for calling. I hope you call back. Terry, it was a pleasure having you on the show as usual. I know I can expect you to call in next time, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir, and you have a wonderful day. I got to close this baby out. Folks, this has been a great show. We'll continue these types of discourses as we move forward. Folks, this is Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host, and I am signing out now.
Thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. You can personally reach me by sending an email to egberto@politicsdoneright.com. Remember, Egberto is spelled E-G-B-E-R-T-O. Change starts with you. 90.1 KPFT gives you information not tainted by corporate interest. Please visit kpft.org and contribute. Let's ensure continued access to real information and news remain available to all. Again, thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right.